we have some big news regarding the latest talks regarding Leon Draisaitl's contract extension. Meanwhile, some Evander Kane news. But before we get into all that breakdown, before we get into all the news, all the stories, all the speculation, make sure to subscribe here to Oilers Digest as we just hit 1,400 subscribers. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us along the ride here as we cover the Edmonton Oilers with anything and everything about the team. I know as it gets closer to training camp, there will be a lot more news to cover. I know especially all of us, myself included, are waiting for the Leon Draisaitl contract talks to be over, to be done with. But before we get into all that, this video is brought to you today by NordVPN. When it comes to the future of the Edmonton Oilers defense, nothing is ever set in stone, but with our friends over at NordVPN, your internet's defense is guaranteed. Using public Wi-Fi networks at shopping malls or airports can be very risky, leaving your personal data out in the open for anyone to access. But with NordVPN, your personal data is encrypted, hiding your IP address and creating an extra layer of privacy, providing super simple, super easy protection with just one click, allowing for stress-free browsing. And I know most of us have ran into the problem trying to access content like a movie or TV show, or even international news that isn't available in your country, but it is available in another. With NordVPN, you can easily change your location and enjoy content from different countries easily on all your favorite sites, allowing you to travel the world from the comfort of your own home with over 6,000 servers in 111 countries. With Nord Special Threat Protection Pro and Dark Web Monitor, you get an extra layer of protection from unwanted malware on your device, and you will be notified if your sensitive personal info ends up on the dark web, even if you aren't connected to a VPN server at the time. Visit nordvpn.com/Oilers and use our code to get an exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 extra months. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Check out NordVPN in the pinned comment or description down below to keep you protected. And shout out NordVPN for sponsoring the channel and for helping you guys become safer online. Again, thank you very much to NordVPN for sponsoring the channel in the video. Make sure to check them out in the description or pinned comment. But without further ado, news. Yes, there is a tweet by the 2 Mutts Hockey Podcast. They managed to get the Stan Bowman hire right before many of the other insiders in hockey, and they had this to say. They had some Oilers news to report. They said Leon Draisaitl, his contract extension talks are going great. There has been some talk that Leon's camp would ask for $14.5 million on AAV, but he's willing to take less than that to stay in Edmonton, and it will be an 8-year deal from what we are told. His deal should be 8 years. I know there's some speculation that he would take like a 4 to 5 year deal, such as like Austin Matthews. That's what he did at $13.3 million to $13.5 million. Leon is taking less to stay in Edmonton. From the 2 Mutts Hockey Podcast, that's not so much speculation to them. That seems to be the real deal. If the Oilers do manage to get Leon on that contract, I think that would be an absolute win. And then it would ring true that the core of the Edmonton Oilers is willing to take significant pay cuts to remain that that cup contending team. I know Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard, they were willing to do the same thing. So only time will tell if that will all come to fruition. And there's some other Oiler news here. There's been a lot of speculation regarding Evander Kane, and apparently he will be ready for training camp. He will take part in the captain's skates come early September. I know that was a thing that Connor McDavid started last year. I know in the first 2-3 months of the season, everyone was like, well, those captain skates were all for nothing, with the way the team was playing, but they seemed to work later on, brought a unity to the team that just goes to show how close that team really is. And also going on LTIR or long-term injury reserve isn't the plan according to sources. I know there was some speculation he would, as he had that the sports hernia injury going wrong with his hip there that kind of prevented him from being the effective player in the playoffs and even a good chunk of the regular season too. And Kane and his family have invested in staying in Edmonton over the next 2 years and beyond. There's some interest from divisional opponents like the Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings. I know the Kings have seen Evander Kane time and time again when he wasn't when he was a member of the San Jose Sharks in the playoffs there, and also with the Oilers as he's played the Kings 3 straight years. But he's not looking to waive his no-move clause at the time. He wants to be an Oiler. I mean, when Evander Kane is effective, I like him on the team, but when he's dealing with an injury, he's not as effective. and that's just time better spent on LTIR, because the more effective player he can be, the more fun he is. The Oilers needed that kind of power forward for years, and then they got him. Showed in the 2022 playoffs that he could be that kind of player, and ever since, it hasn't quite been the same. I know he had that wrist injury a few years back there that kind of missed him. Caused him to miss a significant chunk of the season, but all the best to Evander Kane. I know later on, as we get closer to the season, we will get clear answers. And lastly here, Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg are expected to sign 2-year deals next week. Holloway's AAV could be $1.3 million, and Broberg's AAV could be $1.1 million. And you're thinking, well, where are the Oilers finding this money? And that's a great question. Like, looking here at the current cap space, they are they're kind of in trouble. I don't want to say they're in trouble. I mean, the amount of cap signings in free agency, you'd think, wouldn't they be farther down in the hole? And you're asking me, well, what are they going to do? And that's a great question. And as a result, two guys who have been, consistently named as, cap casualties, Cody Ceci and Brett Kulak, have been listed as potential trade candidates for quite some time. Ceci is a 30-year-old right defenseman with a $3.25 million cap hit and 1 year remaining on his contract, while Brett Kulak is 30 years old, so the same age left defenseman with a $2.75 million cap hit for 2 more years. And then you're also thinking, like, ooh, that's a very expensive, defensive core. Like, if the Oilers continue to deploy the top 4 pairings that they ran in the Cup final, their top 4 would consist of Evan Bouchard, Matthias Ekholm, Darnell Nurse, and Philip Broberg. That would result in a third pairing of Kulak and Ceci making $6 million, which is arguably unideal in such a tight cap world. At the very least, it could make one of them obvious trade candidates for the team to clear cap space, whether it's right now or at the trade deadline to acquire a roster upgrade. Gotta reach the gotta be cap compliant by the start of the season, so it could surprise me if we see either one of those moved, before the season. It all really depends on if Philip Broberg can, cement himself on that right side. Of course, he's, naturally a left side defenseman, but they threw him on the right side in the playoffs. He seemed to work rather well, so it all really depends if he can, continue to play that strong on the right side, and if he does, well, that kind of makes, a guy like Cody Ceci expendable, because they do have the new acquisitions like Troy Stecher, Connor Carrick, and Josh Brown, as you can see there, because right now Kulak is the considerably better and cheaper player than Ceci. The numbers obviously do not lie when it comes to comparing Brett Kulak and Cody Ceci. It doesn't matter who you really seem to throw with Cody Ceci. He seems to drag that pair down. I've showed time and time again with the numbers and also the eye test too. And also, Frank Saravalli reported there will be a market for Ceci if the Oilers look to trade him. While it is also worth noting that the Oilers signed the 3 right shot defensemen that I did name. With all of this in mind, it makes significantly more sense to trade Ceci before Kulak. So let me know down in the comments, what should the Oilers do when it comes to cap space? Should they put Kane on LTIR? Should they trade Kulak, Ceci? Should they trade somebody else? Should they try to trade somebody else? I know lots of people are saying to trade Darnell Nurse. Obviously, that's not an option at this time. I don't think it'll ever quite be an option. But let me know down in the comments what you think about just the whole landscape of the Oilers. That's it for today's video. I'm Matt.